一样可以吗？OK。
开始直播喽，等一下，3、2。
Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back. We are still talking about travel and public speaking. And during the break, I took a look at your questions, and a few of you are interested in knowing how to improve your English pronunciation. I think the best advice that I can give you is to listen to a lot of English. This is the first thing.
Input.
Yes, you have to input a lot of listening. So spend a lot of time listening to native speakers speaking English. Subscribe to some very nice YouTube channels that that are hosted. Such as?
Ray Do English. Follow Ray Do
English. This is a plug, yes. Very good, yes. And some others, but native speakers of English. Also very good. Honest Trainers. Yes. No. PewDiePie, yeah. No.
Smart History.
Smart History.
Smart
Yes,
History.
Economy.
Yes,
but listen to how they pronounce it and be aware of this. I think the most important thing I can tell you students about learning English is you need to be aware. 有点中文，你必须要自己有意识到自己的学习状态。I think that's very important. We all need to have some awareness of our abilities, and then find someone to speak English to, someone who has better pronunciation than yours. Find a model and then try to imitate this person. Sharon and I both have important role models in our lives that are,
role models.
They are gods, right? Who are of the universe, and we are mere mortals. And so we sort of look up to them and say, okay, I want to be like that. Yeah. So yes, people like like you know who. Yeah. So I encourage it. It doesn't have to be someone you know in person. You can of course you can imitate a character in a film or a TV series. Yeah. So. Yes, yeah. So I encourage you all to do this. Sharon, do you have any other suggestions about?
Oh, you said it all.
Okay, all right, about pronunciation.
Yeah, input is very important. But I think for most students, I think it's a lot of fun to learn English from the things you're interested in. Like if you're interested in sports or fashion, or you're a gamer, and you can follow a lot of either YouTube channels or video platforms that has native speakers speaking English. Or personally, I watch CNN News, and I really like to see how the anchor speaks to the audience. And also, I really like one of my favorite speakers perhaps is the former U.S. President Barack Obama. Yeah, he really is
he's a very good public speaker. Yes.
Yeah.
Unlike the. Okay.
Yeah, not a story.
Nothing. Okay, nothing. And so find something you are interested in. Have a goal that you want to talk about. It's easier to have motivation this way. I feel like I'm preaching. Okay, but that's okay. Are there any new questions?
Yes.
Iris, before we go on. Yeah.
From Liu Fengyi.
Fengyi, hello Fengyi. Thank you for watching.
Fengyi, he asks, how much time you use to practice?
It's a very interesting question. Before a particular speech or before in general? I think it takes many years of experience and practice. How long did you practice your speech?
You mean for the 20th century?
Yeah, for the speech contest, like you have a prepared speech or you have a presentation. Do you rehearse?
Yes, I do rehearse.
Yeah.
But I think as English majors, we are pretty much used to a lot of presentations, as we have CC1, CC2, CC3, public speaking. But I think
Western civilization.
Yeah, Western civilization.
Dot.
Yeah, and many more. And I think apart from getting used to it, I think is really, you need to, first of all, you need to get familiar with what you're talking about. And I think it really helps. Either you prepare a note or a script, or personally, I don't usually write long scripts, but I would jot down the important points, and between. Sorry, I forgot what's the question.
How much time?
How much time? Yeah. How much time? Well, let's go back to the competition. I think because before 20th century, I took part in the annual English speaking competition from our department. So since then, maybe from around Christmas, December, I started to practice speaking my script and worked all the way till March, including winter vacation. So basically that year, I spent most of the time speaking and rewriting my script, and also with help from Andrew also. Yeah.
Yeah, I was in Germany at the time.
Yeah,
I remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I think it takes a while. If you have a script you need to memorize, give yourself, I think, at least 5 days to memorize the script and then practice everywhere. I used to practice scripts when I was showering.
Me too.
Or when you are in the bathroom, when you are commuting, when you are eating.
Or when your mom is nagging.
Or I can't do that. But practice more times than you think is necessary.
True.
I think this is the best advice. For me, it takes about, because memorizing is not so difficult, but when you're on stage, your mind can go blank. And so make sure that you put in more time than you think is necessary. And of course, it depends on the project. If you are practicing for a contest, so for instance, you have 3 minutes speech contest or a 10-minute presentation, I would say at least try to do it complete it 5 days in advance and practice, and then make revisions and change it. Yeah, that's the best advice. Yeah.
Good question. And from the previous broadcast, there are many people like Jolene, Lin Yanru, and Ye Jia. They all asked that how did you solve the problem, or how will you react when you go blank on the stage?
Okay, how do you react?
Yes.
Thankfully, in my experience, I have practiced enough times, or not yet, I haven't forgotten my script on stage, thankfully. And I'll tell you how to avoid it, but Sharon, you've had this experience.
Yes.
Very short, yeah, very short.
Very short, but actually last year, when I was in the speech competition from the English department, I forgot something in my script, and I paused for around 3 to 5 seconds on stage while all the judges were looking at me, including Dr. Murphy. And I felt that those seconds were one of the longest moments in my entire life so far, because you feel like the world is suddenly so quiet, and you're so alone, and you're so helpless, and everybody's looking at you, and it's really terrifying. It really was.
To solve the problem, I think the best way, because if you're on stage and your mind goes
there's nothing more you can do.
There is, okay, the easiest way I think is to backtrack. But I think that's not the best solution. So let me talk about how to prevent it first.
Yeah, prevent.
In my experience, students forget scripts when you switch to a new paragraph or when you switch to a new sentence. This is the most common form of when the thought breaks, because you are finishing something and you need to start again. You need to put into a new thought, right? You need to build on the previous part. And so what I do is that I always memorize the last word and the first word of a sentence. So, and you memorize it in a pair. And so you memorize this as a sort of, as a hook, so that when you know that this sentence ends, you automatically know the beginning of the next sentence. And normally, 逃轨新的轨, all right? You have the head, then you know what is supposed to follow. And I think that's the best way to prevent forgetting your script on stage, by memorizing first and last word. If you are already on stage, then the best you can do, don't let the pause wait out too long. Backtrack or skip to the next part. But I would still suggest, do your best that it doesn't happen. Sometimes it comes back to you and then you remember. That's a lucky chance. But try your best to avoid this. Yeah, and actually, students, to be very honest, there isn't a lot of opportunity in real life where you have to memorize long scripts. This is normally done in competition. So just have your notes ready and be familiar with your notes, and have important points. Have good visual aids, and talk naturally.
Yeah, we'll try to improvise if you can.
Yes, that would be better than standing on stage and freezing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Can you summarize the points if they got blank? I think because they are not like you.
Like a step by
so
step.
even if it's in Chinese presentation, they sometimes got blank. So can you summarize again?
Okay, so first, prepare beforehand. Second, practice. Over practice, so over prepare. Third, if it has to be memorized, the important points, the logic of your presentation, and the first and last words between sentences, paragraphs. First and last words between sentences and paragraphs. And if you really, really, really forget, backtrack. Go back to where you were, or go to the next part. So those are my suggestions. Is that okay? Okay. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. All right. So, is there any other questions?
Yes.
Yes.
From Chen Boting.
Boting. I think I remember this name too. Boting.
Hello.
Thank you for watching. What is your question?
His question is, does living in foreign country for a short time, maybe 3 or 4 months, only may help improve my English skill?
3 to 4 months is not a short time.
That's where you are?
Yeah, certainly, yeah, sure.
Thank you for the question. I think it depends where you're going and what will lead you there. I think.
Yes. So, yeah, specifically, if you go to a foreign language and you stay there for 3 to 4 months, the most important thing you can do is to practice often.
Yeah.
And to use it often. Some people they go to a foreign language.
With the Taiwanese.
That's right. Yeah. And then they interact with people who speak their language, and then they have a small group, and then they don't use the foreign language that they are supposed to be practicing. That's not a very good way to improve. You have to get out of your comfort zone, not just physically, but mentally too. So it's not really an issue of time, of how long it is. Of course, the longer, the more practice opportunities you'll have. But it's pushing yourself to practice. And that can be very hard. When I was in Germany, there's a lot of opportunity to speak English. And so you have to really push yourself to speak German. Yeah, and so that's my experience. So, is that right? So my suggestion to you is practice as often as you can with people who don't speak your language.
And also don't be afraid to make mistakes.
And don't be afraid to make mistakes, yes. It's very normal and it's very important that you do so that you can improve. Yeah. Good.
And there are 2 questions, I think they are related.
Yes.
It's from Hu Jinyu and Jolene.
Jolene and Jingyu.
Yes.
I think I remember, yeah, Jingyu, yes.
Jinyu asks, how about the difference between China and Europe? And Jolene asks the question, so what kind of problems do you face while learning to understand different accents from different countries? I find some accents from Europe really tough to understand.
Yes. That is a very, very good question, yes, and very difficult to answer. Comparing China to Europe is very, for me, there are some similarities. Sure, you can start.
You mean comparing the accent of?
I think what they mean is the experience of traveling there.
Well, we haven't yeah, wow.
Yeah.
I think traveling, we haven't got there yet, but maybe the first.
Yes, we can get there.
I think it's the culture is pretty much the cultures are very different, but also similar in the sense that because for you're in a foreign country, so the way that you adapt to their culture and their daily life is pretty much the same process, and which is a lot of fun actually. And I think I don't know, that's a really broad question.
Yeah, I think the first thing that I think about is that it's really hard to generalize.
Yeah, really hard.
Because China is not one place. Yeah. It's very big.
Very
it depends
big.
on where you go, yeah, what you do. Same thing for Europe. You know, going to Great Britain, where they speak English, is Europe. You can also go to the Czech Republic, right? Or you can go to Russia, which is also Europe. But in general, overall, I felt a deeper sense of history when I am in China and Europe. Yeah, I feel that I'm connected to more deeper history. In Taiwan, you sometimes feel like
Taiwan's relatively young.
Yes, in many ways, you don't feel as closely connected to the history. This is my personal experience.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, when you're there, as to how you would communicate and try to understand different accents, I think
it's so much fun. The process is so much fun.
I'm not quite sure, actually. I'm thinking about whether or not, in my experience, there has been an accent that I don't understand. I think the best way you can solve the problem is to expose yourself to the accent as early as you can. And so, for instance, if you are worried about understanding the British accent, then watch Harry Potter often.
There are a lot of different accents in Britain.
True, but or watch Downton Abbey, right? Different accents, right? And you will get used to it a little bit more. Or the best way you can deal with the problem is to ask someone to speak slower. Yeah. When I was in Germany, because we studied the standard dialect, Hochdeutsch, but when you were there are a lot of dialects. And so I learned to ask, can you speak the standard dialect? And they would say yes, and they would switch over. Okay, so this is my experience. I think this works. Okay. All right. Okay. So we should continue with our journey here. Let's skip to the part where Sharon, you are talking about Europe.
Yeah.
And you went to which countries in Europe?
Italy.
You went to
and
Italy.
Vatican.
Which is still Italy.
Yeah, we're still Italy.
Okay, so we need to skip some slides, Iris. But we can switch back, and I'll tell you when we get there. So this is Sharon in Sydney.
Yeah.